It is official, the Rainmaker is officially All Elite, making his official AEW debut last night on Dynamite, aligning himself with Matthew and Nicholas Jackson of the Young Bucks. Kazuchika Okada is All Elite, and he's replaced Kenny Omega, who's been fired from the Elite, and Hangman Adam Page, who's been suspended from the Elite by the Executive Vice Presidents of AEW, the Young Bucks. Plenty of details and reactions to this, plus Bryan Danielson confronts Will Ospreay at the conclusion of AEW Dynamite last night, paving the way for a big match at an upcoming AEW pay-per-view event. Adam Copeland is back on AEW television, and he's challenged Christian Cage to an I Quit match at an upcoming episode of Dynamite in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Samoa Joe vs. Wardlow is official for the AEW World Championship at Dynamite Big Business next week in Boston, Massachusetts. Swerve Strickland is now officially a babyface. Darby Allin says he may never return from his upcoming hiatus when he's going to climb Mount Everest, but he was confronted by Jay White last night. AEW Revolution featured the retirement match for Sting, but also generated a $1 million gate for All Elite Wrestling. Jim Ross announces he signed a new contract with AEW, and speaking of contracts, Matt Hardy, his deal with AEW is reportedly expiring. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of professional wrestling. Let's start off with the big news, and that is Kazuchika Okada is All Elite. The Rainmaker is officially in AEW, and he's also a heel and has aligned himself with the Young Bucks. While huge announcements are customarily reserved for AEW President and CEO Tony Khan in AEW, the Young Bucks exerted their EVP authority on Dynamite on Wednesday and were about to break some huge news themselves before Eddie Kingston interrupted them, leading to a brawl. As the Bucks set Kingston up for the EVP trigger, none other than the Rainmaker himself, Kazuchika Okada, hit the ring to make the save, or so it seemed, before Okada turned on Kingston and was announced as the newest member of the Elite. That group, of which the Bucks are founding members, was newly free of Hangman Adam Page and Kenny Omega as well. Prior to the exchange with Kingston and Okada's debut, Matthew and Nicholas Jackson declared that Page was, quote, suspended indefinitely from the Elite without pay, end quotes, for contact with officials at Revolution, and that Omega was outright fired from the Elite for not making any dates as of late, quote, for no good reason. Omega, of course, has been out since mid-December, battling diverticulitis, while it's been reported that Page is taking time off following the Revolution pay-per-view for a personal matter. After finishing up New Japan Pro Wrestling at the New Beginning in Sapporo on February 24th, Okada returns to AEW, this time as a full-time competitor, having competed for the promotion 3 times prior in 2022 and 2023. He leaves New Japan a 7-time IWGP Heavyweight Champion, a never openweight 6-man tag team champion, a 4-time winner of the G1 Climax Tournament, and a 2-time winner of the New Japan Cup. Those accolades may have had AEW fans prepared to welcome him as the company as a hero, but his instantaneous alignment with the EVPs seems to have flipped that script right from the start, so he is going to be a heel in AEW. Now, we've got plenty of reaction to this via several posts on social media, the first coming from the AEW president and CEO himself, Tony Khan, who has said, quote, he is now business partners with the Young Bucks in the Elite, and tonight it's official, Kazuchika Okada is All Elite. Welcome to AEW Kazuchika Okada, hashtag AEW Dynamite. Now, we got some reaction from the Young Bucks themselves saying, quote, the biggest signing in AEW history. Welcome to the team, Kazuchika Okada, hashtag the Elite. They also posted another tweet that said, change the world, hashtag the Elite, along with a photo of themselves with the Rainmaker backstage at Dynamite last night. We also got a reaction from Kenny Omega himself, who has now been fired from the Elite after not making any dates. He simply posted this photo of himself way back when in 2020, not looking too pleased or looking a bit annoyed with the decision to be fired and let go from the Elite by his EVP associate. So what are your thoughts thoughts when it comes to Okada in AEW? What are your thoughts on the segment last night? Where do you think this is going? Is this paving the way for another Kenny Omega versus Kazuchika Okada match, this time in AEW? Let me know your reaction to that. Now, as far as more reaction to this, it comes courtesy of Dave Meltzer on Wrestling Observer Radio. He has said the following about the segment last night. He said, quote, "The Young Bucks segment with Okada, that has been known, not by me, but has been known by the Young Bucks and Okada and Tony Khan for literally months. It was Tony Khan's idea to do this a long time ago, the show after Revolution. So reportedly, the idea of bringing Okada in for this show and aligning him with the Young Bucks, of course, in real life, they are very close friends from Okada's time in TNA Wrestling back in the mid-2000s when the Young Bucks kind of took the then Okada, who was on excursion from New Japan Pro Wrestling, under their wing at the time. They've maintained a very strong relationship since. One of the reasons Okada decided to sign with AEW, of course, and now it's playing out on camera as well. What's your reactions to all of it? Let me know in the comment section below. Now, we got a big tease to close out AEW Dynamite last night about what would some consider a dream match coming up on AEW programming in the future. After conquering his second fellow Don Callis family member in 4 nights, narrowly escaping a valiant effort from his old friend Kyle Fletcher, it appears as though Will Ospreay's next challenger may have already emerged in the form of a dream opponent. While Fletcher and Ospreay embraced after the conclusion of the Dynamite main event, Bryan Danielson's entrance music hit and the American Dragon walked briskly to the ring, stepped through the ropes and stared down Ospreay to close the show. It would be fair to say now that Ospreay's arrival as a full-time member of the AEW roster has gotten off to an electric start, with his Dynamite debut exciting the masses, his match with Konosuke Takeshita at Revolution arguably stealing the show, and the match with Fletcher featuring more than its fair share of high-flying maneuvers, risk taken and false finishes, culminating in the emotional embrace between the two former United Empire stablemates. But Danielson's interjection is likely to take things to a new level for longtime fans who have hoped this to become a reality since Danielson's AEW debut in September of 2021. The match against Fletcher marked Ospreay's 6th singles match in AEW overall, and his first on AEW television since his debut in a victory over Dax Howard in June of 2022. In between the 2 TV matches, Ospreay has been featured on both AEW and New Japan Pro Wrestling Forbidden Door cards, defending the IWGP United States Championship against Orange Cassidy in 2022 and recapturing it from Kenny Omega a year later. Of course, he also faced off against Chris Jericho at Wembley Stadium at Allin last year. Now, as far as more reaction to this stare down, the tease between Ospreay and Danielson last night, Dave Meltzer had the following to say on Wrestling Observer Radio. He said, quote, "I know 100% for sure that match, Bryan Danielson versus Will Ospreay, is happening relatively soon. I have been told that it's something Tony Khan has been wanting. You know, it's like the dream match of all dream matches probably for him, but this match is happening. I presume it's going to be on the St. Louis pay-per-view on April 21st. That's, of course, AEW Dynasty that is taking place, as I mentioned, in St. Louis. They kind of teased that by the way the camera panned at the end of the show. You can see it on the screen right there with Danielson and Ospreay on either sides of the camera, and in the middle the Dynasty logo, implying that's when the match is going to take place. Let me know your reaction to that too in the comment section below. Now, last night, Dynamite featured the return of Adam Copeland to AEW television, and maybe we're going to see the end of this Copeland-Christian Cage feud once and for all. Some believe that Christian Cage's shocking win over Adam Copeland at AEW World's End, just moments after Copeland defeated Cage, was an end to the long-time friends-turned-rivals trilogy of matches, but Copeland is apparently not counting one of them, as he challenged Cage to Cope Cage 3 on Wednesday. Copeland returned to AEW Dynamite, chasing the TNT champion through the arena to the parking lot where Cage stole a car and drove off. Copeland then looked directly into the camera and challenged Cage to an I Quit match at the March 20 edition of AEW Dynamite in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Not only will the match be taking place in the two men's hometown of Toronto, but it will also be taking place on the 30th anniversary of the famous WrestleMania 10 match between Bret Hart and his younger brother Owen Hart. Copeland hasn't been seen since the February 14th episode of AEW Dynamite, where he was assaulted by Cage and the Patriarchy, suffering a vicious concerto. So we're going to be seeing that match take place in a couple weeks' time. Now, next week, It's AEW Dynamite Big Business in Boston, Massachusetts, the show that many think is going to feature the AEW debut of Mercedes Moné, but it's also going to feature an AEW World Championship match. AEW Dynamite Big Business will emanate from Boston, Massachusetts next Wednesday, and the winner of Revolution's All-Star Scramble match will be getting a shot at Samoa Joe's AEW World title. Wardlow will challenge Joe for the AEW World Championship after defeating Chris Jericho, Magnus, Dante Martin, Powerhouse Hobbs, Lance Archer, Hook and Brian Cage on Sunday. The Scramble match took place in the place of the previously planned Meat Madness match, which Wardlow was originally supposed to be part of as well. Of course, Tony Khan revealed that he scrapped Meat Madness due to multiple injuries. Wardlow came out on Wednesday's episode of Dynamite following his victory alongside other members of the Undisputed Kingdom. Adam Cole ran down both Joe and Swerve Strickland, who were also in the ring, before saying Wardlow would be the one to win the championship. This led to a tag team match between Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champions Matt Taven and Mike Bennett against Strickland and Joe. After Taven and Bennett were defeated, Wardlow came back out onto the stage to stare down Joe after the champion choked out Strickland, who was distracted by Wardlow's sudden appearance. It was announced by commentary shortly thereafter that Wardlow will be getting his title shot at Big Business, easy for me to say, next week at the TD Garden. Now, prior to this match, we did get confirmation that Swerve Strickland is now officially a babyface, and we know this because the Tunnels are back for the AEW Dynamite set. Now, with last night's new Dynamite set, the return of the babyface and heel Tunnels created a bit of a visually different entrance for several talents. Interestingly, it was Swerve Strickland who was the first to emerge through the newly returned babyface tunnel as he and Prince Nana made their entrance. Subsequent entrances from Samoa Joe, as well as the Undisputed Kingdom, went through the heel tunnel, which can now confirm what we kind of already knew for the last several weeks. Swerve Strickland is now officially a babyface. What do you think is going to happen when it comes to the World Championship match next week? And what do you think is going to happen when it comes to Swerve Strickland and his pursuit of the AEW World Championship? Is he going to challenge Joe, possibly at the next AEW pay-per-view, Dynasty, or Double or Nothing? Where do you think this is going? Let me know your predictions in the comment section below. Now, Darby Allin, of course, he was heavily involved in Sting's retirement bouts at Revolution this past weekend, and he's set to go on a big hiatus soon. AEW star Darby Allin gave an emotional promo last night on Dynamite, noting that he might not come back alive after an upcoming hiatus. After his wild performance at Revolution during Sting's last match, Darby Allin came to the ring on AEW Dynamite for an interview with Tony Schiavone. Recalling how several years ago he was experiencing homelessness in Atlanta, now he has returned after having main evented a signature AEW pay-per-view with Sting. While he may have a match next week, Darby Allin looked ahead to another upcoming personal challenge, climbing Mount Everest, telling the crowd that since he doesn't know if he'll come back alive from climbing Mount Everest, his match at Big Business against Jay White could actually be his last. Noting that he intended to wrestle as though it was the last match of his career, certainly fans are in for a wild display from Darby Allin, who has become known for his viral and terrifying spots. Jay White eventually came out and the pair had a face-to-face interaction in the ring ahead of their match next week at AEW Big Business. So we know that match is set for next week at Big Business. We know it's going to be an AEW World Championship match between Samoa Joe and Wardlow, and the rumored debut of the former Sasha Banks, known as Mercedes Moné, in All Elite Wrestling. Now, speaking of Revolution and speaking of Sting and his final match, it was a huge success for All Elite Wrestling. It's safe to say that AEW Revolution 2024 was a big success for All Elite Wrestling. The company managed to sell out the legendary Greensboro Coliseum. Many of the matches were widely praised by fans and critics, and Sting got to retire on top alongside Darby Allin and his two sons, both dressed as throwback versions of the icon himself. Now it's been revealed that Revolution was also a big success from a financial standpoint too. According to a report by Venues Now, Revolution managed to gross over $1 million in ticket sales, with the average price of ticket being $55. The Coliseum's deputy director Scott Johnson was able to provide numbers for the hospitality and merchandising sales from the night, as well as food and drink vendor OVG Hospitality producing $306,242 in concession receipts, and WeVend, the company who ran the merchandise stalls in the arena, reporting $349,000 in merchandise revenue, boosted greatly by the variety of items on sale relating to Sting and his last match. The report also claims that, quote, the numbers are on the high end for a family show and more in line with a concert. Revolution was the first pay-per-view AEW had held in the Greensboro Coliseum after successful outings in 2021 and 2023 for episodes of Dynamite, Rampage, and Collision. AEW's next pay-per-view event will be Dynasty on April 21st in St. Louis, Missouri, and they'll hope to match some of those numbers, even though it was a big event featuring Sting's retirement at Revolution. Now, some contract news in AEW. First, let's start off with Jim Ross. There'd been quite a lot of speculation about the legendary broadcaster's future with AEW. Current AEW announcer Jim Ross recently revealed on his podcast, Grillin' JR, that his contract with All Elite Wrestling was set to expire on February 14 of this year. Of course, that date has come and passed. With JR appearing at AEW Revolution, an agreement had clearly been reached between JR and the company to extend his deal. Speaking on his Grillin' JR podcast, JR confirmed that he has indeed signed a new deal. He said, quote, "We wrote a new deal. We wrote a completely new deal. No extension, new contract. It was probably the quickest and easiest negotiation I have ever done in my career of 50 years. That's all because of Tony Khan's commitment to me as a broadcaster. He's always been a fan of my work, which helps your cause when your boss is a fan of your work. We got a new deal. I'll be back to do more work. I assume it's going to be centered around the pay-per-view. We're adding more pay-per-views and big events. I'll be involved in some degree with those. I'm here. I'm getting better. That will work for me. If I'm just working just pay-per-views, I'm very happy to do that. I think we're down for another year. That's plenty. I'm happy with it. Tony Khan stepped up. Term-wise, financial package-wise, everything was to my liking. I was very blessed to be working with Tony on that deal. He wanted me signed. He got his man, and I got my company. It all worked out really well. So Jim Ross is now signed for an extra year with AEW. And finally, speaking of contracts, one AEW contract is expiring. It's a big year for contracts in professional wrestling, of course. Now, Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select is reporting that Fightful has learned that former WWE, WCW, TNA, Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champion Matt Hardy's current contract with AEW is set to expire in March. That's right, this month. Of course, Matt Hardy was brought in March 2020, where he was signed to a contract. Now, originally, Fightful were told that Jeff Hardy's AEW deal was set to match up to Matt's deal as far as length, but injuries and inactivity and suspension, legal issues, etc., led to that no longer being the case, and there's been time added to his contract. Now, Fightful have heard that Hardy and AEW were in contact recently about the deal, but they haven't heard if it's expected to be extended. The 49-year-old Hardy has only been booked for one match so far in 2024, but wrestled regularly in 2023, having over 40 matches in and out of AEW. This marks 30 straight years that Hardy has wrestled on television, as he competed against The Undertaker, IRS, Owen Hart, Crush, Razor Ramon, and Nikolai Volkov back in 1994. So what are your thoughts on Matt Hardy's future? Do you expect him to stay, or do you expect him to leave AEW? But there you go, guys. It's the latest pro wrestling news for you. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. As always, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon. Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.